Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden 2. Now, we've only just started the year really, and we've already gotten some really fantastic figures. Two from Figuarts with the Zoro and the Ace, and this one, which is just a fantastic figure. And it's like I'm pretty much spoiling what the review's about anyway. But the Amazing Yamaguchi line is an interesting line of figures. They are exaggerated beyond the source materials that they come from, but in general they do read as the characters they're meant to be, but they have a big emphasis on over-exaggeration, highly articulated, crazy accessories, just really show-stopping sort of figures. And Ryu is no different. He fits right in. There is a learning curve to these figures because the articulation is a little bit non-standard and a little bit funky because of all the joint cuts and weirdness, but in general they are very cool figures once you figure them out. Now, I really like the Ninja Gaiden franchise, and it is really cool that Ninja Gaiden 2 Black finally happened, and the franchise is continuing with 4, and just a big sort of renaissance for the franchise, because it's sort of been dormant since Team Ninja went on sort of like the Souls style, Neo, Wulong Fallen Dynasty sort of route, and they're doing really good stuff, but part of me really misses Ninja Gaiden. So anyway, let's get right into it. So out of the box, here's what Ryu comes with, and it is a lot. So we get the figure itself, a bunch of different hands, as well as the Dragon Sword and Shuriken, and then on his back clamshell, we get the claws and the boots, as well as the Kusarigama. And if you pre-ordered the figure through Kyoto's official channels, you will also get the Blade of the Archfiend, which is pretty cool. And that is the loadout. It is a pretty cool loadout. It might not seem like much at first, but the stuff you can do with this is really crazy. So out of the box, he is Ryu, and he's looking really good. There are some very obvious Amazing Yamaguchi joints in there, mainly in the shoulders and the elbows, and he is stylized just a little bit, but he does read for the most part as proper Ryu Hayabusa, and it's a nice looking figure. In general, the paint job is very good. There is a paint error on my one. At the back of his hood, there is like a little extra spot of silver paint. I think it can rub off. I didn't really try to. It doesn't bother me too much, but it is just something to be noted. But in general, all the other paintwork and detailing is really good, and I like the look of it. For something that is sort of like black tight leather, it is cool that the detail is so vibrant and clear, and I do really like the design. But we'll jump right into posability because it is the craziest part of this figure. So he's got a ball joint at the head and neck, and it is a really free ball joint. You can move it and look around very easily. It is also kind of easy to pop it off. His scarf is attached to his body, but you can rotate the back end and hinge it out. I will note that it is incredibly loose and it is a little bit annoying to pose. The arm is on this weird double ball hinge thing, which is similar to what the Luffy SH Figuarts do. The upper arm can swivel. There's a bend at the elbow that is on like a ball joint, so you can rotate it around a bit as well. And there is a hinge and swivel at the wrist. I will also note that the wrist is incredibly loose, and there is a loose wrist bracelet sort of thing as part of his gauntlet that you do need to readjust constantly because it just falls off when you change the hands, and it is frustrating. He also has a really awesome butterfly joint in the upper chest, which is blended perfectly into the sculpt, and I really like that. He can also arc his back that far back and forward that far with all the ball joints in his body, and it's really nice for some cool ninja poses. Kunai can be removed from his leg, which is cool and doesn't really get in the way of anything if they are bothering you. He can do the splits that far. He can swivel at the upper thigh, kick forward and back that far. There is a bend at the knee, and the legs do pop off a little bit easily like the Batman, but they aren't as rigid as the Batman. There is also a little calf swivel, as well as an ankle pivot and bend at the toes and hinge, and it's all rather nice to deal with. Pretty much all the joints feel nice and solid. The only real problems I have are with the scarf and the wrists. They are frustrating to deal with, but in general, all of the other joints are nice and solid, and he can hold deep poses and delicate poses rather well. Ryu only comes with one face, but it's pretty much the only one you need, which is mask on and eyes looking sort of death in the face. And this is similar to a lot of the other modern Amazing Yamaguchi figures, where the eyes are posable, so you get a tool for that. You just pop the head off and you can pose the eyes around. And I didn't really have any problem with this, but I also don't really need to use the tool that much. The eyes are a much darker paint than the rest of his skin tone, but it is hidden by the mask very cleverly, so it just looks like standard shadow, and I think that was fully intentional. But with that posability, you can get Ryu into some really, really good poses, and I really enjoyed playing with this figure. I just tried to accomplish everything that I saw in the promotional material, and he could do it pretty much no problem at all. The Blade of the Archfiend was something that I was very happy I pre-ordered for. Usually I hate the pre-order accessories for Revoltech and Kyoto stuff, just because it feels like it should have been included anyway. And to a degree, this should have as well. But the other accessories you get in the figure are fine. But this one I just really like. I even love that it doesn't come with a scabbard because it's not meant to, and it just looks cool. I do like that it's a slightly different curve and it is longer than the Dragon Sword, so it feels very accurate to the game. And I just loved posing him with the dual blades, especially since it was my preferred weapon when I played the game. And yeah, he's just a really fun figure to play around with. The assortment of hands are really good. I didn't realize that he had separate hands to hold the shuriken as well as do Nimpo, but I used those hands for both anyway, but I think it was fine. If anything, the shuriken are kind of superfluous. You don't really need them, but it is nice to have them, but I don't really see getting much use out of them. Being able to use the kunai is kind of cool, just to chuck in his hand, and his other weapons are really cool. The actual chain on his weapon is a real chain, and it is hard to deal with, but worth it if you can figure out a pose. I just lack imagination, and the wrist peg situation was really bothering me, so I just got him into some really standard poses with it. But it is cool that it has genuine weight to it, and you do need to compensate for the slack in the chain, which is really cool. I do like that the weapon is flexible, so you just slot it into his hand and you don't need to worry about things breaking too much, thankfully. But the real star of the show are the claws and greaves. They just pop off the arms and legs and you just slot them back on. They are very easy to deal with, and they are even posable. Not as posable as the non-bladed arms or feet, but just enough that you can get some really cool dynamic poses out of it, and I really enjoyed this set of accessories. The other thing is that if you're putting him into aerial poses, you do get a base with the figure, but the base is very weak out of the box, so I do recommend tightening it. It does have screws at the joints, so I do recommend tightening those. Just something to note. It's pretty much consistent across all the Yamaguchi figures I've played with that the bases are notoriously weak out of the box, so genuinely do recommend tightening those up. But with all its faults, it is still an incredible figure. I had so much fun posing it and doing all sorts of different things with it. I can't settle on a pose to put him into on display, and they're going to do the Ninja Gaiden 3 one, and he comes with a scythe, which sucks that this one doesn't come with a scythe. I did want him to. If you get the sold separately just general Revoltech accessory packs, you can get a generic scythe through that, so I guess that works. But seeing as I can't think of a design or a pose to put this Ryu into, if I get the Razor's Edge one, then at least I'll have a few more options and styles to put him into, and I'm curious to see what accessories that one comes with. But yeah, this is a fantastic figure if you can put up with the general Yamaguchi learning curve, as well as any weird quality control stuff, then yeah, highly recommend this. This is another fantastic figure this year. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time.